parents' basement flooded. My somewhat older, okay, they're senior, well, they're what people my age call people their age, aging. My aging parents' basement flooded, and I was the daughter on call when Mom and Dad sent out an SOS emergency signal pleading for help after they stepped knee-deep into floating cat litter. Kathy? Oh my God, Kathy, is that you? It's me, your mother. Kathy, can you come over now? It's the basement. It's wet. It's very, very wet. It's flooded. So much water. Michael, don't. Michael, I'm calling Kathy. Kathy, you there? No, Michael, it's not the washing machine. It's a river. Kathy, the basement flooded, overflowing. Come now. And with that, she did not hang up the phone, but instead put it down next to but not on the receiver, so I could continue to hear the muffled blame game about whether a plumber should be called, while my dad prayed his go-to prayer, Jesus H. Christ, I can fix it myself. Jesus H. Christ couldn't make it, but my husband and I, we packed up fishing waders and a wet vac, and we drove several zip codes to my hometown, where the floodgates had busted open on my mom and dad's entire life. Personal memories and antiques and their many valuable collectibles. A mishmash of popular culture and antique artifacts saved for the riches that they promised for someday, but not this day, but someday soon when their value would obviously be revealed, just like on Antique Roadshow, or American Pickers, or Pawn Stars. And then naysayers like me would be begging for a piece of the financial pie. I walked into their Cedar Shake raised ranch, avoiding Willie and Georgie, their two obscenely fat cats who were pinballing off the walls down the hallway in search of their very last lifeboats on the Titanic. I followed the arguing echoes to the basement, and looking down the stairs, saw water covering the bottom two steps, and realized immediately we needed to get a bigger boat. I walked into their 50 years of marital bliss, squish by squish, back in time into their past, a wet but rich sedimentary history of a marriage spent antiquing through the Berkshires or picking through the dump, tomato, tomato. My parents, you see, were academics, intellectuals, teachers, smarter than the average Joe, but not smart enough to put a drainage system under their new patio. So when spring sprung, torrential rain let a river run through it, literally, despite decades of dry basement, and now a marriage worth of memories, collectibles, and antiques with an estimated retail value of, someday this will put you and your sisters through college. And when it didn't, evolve to a healthy, someday this is gonna put the grandkids through college. And yet it didn't. But instead, at this point in time, a lifetime of their savings floated merrily, merrily down the stream, swirling in tiny tide pools, dammed not by beavers, but instead by abandoned, not-so-everyday items, the staples of my childhood, several Singer sewing machines, a loom, a wood stove, a kiln, and a Porsche hardtop. Decades of soggy papers looked like seaweed, photos and maps and political memorabilia, letters and Christmas cards, nursery school handprints on red construction paper now bleeded into the abyss. There was bugs. There was a lot of bugs. Bugs and bug carcasses clinging to the ticker tape parade floating in this Club Med of memories. Calendars floated by, some with pinup girls at home on a hood of a car, others with grizzly bears at home in the forest. These were always given away from Bailey's gas station downtown, but apparently never thrown away. Near the ceiling, I saw water seeping around those little uncaulked edges of the itty-bitty basement windows that were full of cobwebs and daddy longlegs, desperately seeking their own flotation device. Before the water trickled down the cinder block foundation walls, following the grooves left, right, down, racing to the bottom like a prehistoric Pac-Man. Seismic bubbles erupted obscene gurgles from the deep, dark crevices where the wall met the floor, somewhere beneath all the stuff. But my dad can't hear the gurgling because he's not wearing his hearing aids. Or maybe he just pulled them out to mute my mother, who is now near hysteria, waddling through the water in her hot pink Crocs, trying desperately to save floating tax returns from 1987. No, we need these, she panicked, and she scooped up all the waterlogged papers and envelopes, the receipts and the report cards, and she hugged the papier-mâché ick to her chest. Her eye dream of genie yoga pants were billowing in the murky water like drunk jellyfish attracted to the white light of her legs. My parents thought with all their hearts and wallets that one day they would be financially rewarded for carefully curating limited edition prints and antique photography and first edition books and toys and dolls and fabrics. Stock market. Invest in antiques, Kathy, they'll never lose the value. They bought low at flea markets and antique shows and auctions and garage sales, and they stored their treasures away for long-term investment because surely one day their ship would come in and their teaching salaries would be rewarded with carefully curated collectibles, way better than a 401k. It's a safe bet to accumulate tax-deferred earnings for a rainy day. Ha. Their hand-picked investments lined the walls, lifted from the deluge below, on shelves my dad built decades ago from a dilapidated dairy barn. Now, shelter for coin-operated banks and Breyer horses. Family affairs, Miss Baisley. The $6 million man was powerless to nature's wrath. The bionic woman looked longingly from her cellophane box on the top shelf. Help us, their blank eyes pleaded from inside their original packaging. Safe, too, was a six-pack of Billy beer. There was Bruce Jenner Wheaties box, Ronald McDonald Happy Meal toys, Mayor McCheese, and the Hamburglar. Equal opportunity was the Burger King men's brief, Tighty Whitey's extra large, home of the Whopper emblazoned on the crotch. There was a Mr. Peanut dispenser, I Like Ike and Tricky Dick buttons, a Marlboro Man, the actual man, doll size, cigarette, no horse, Punch and Judy puppets, a Mod Squad thermos, a Bonanza lunchbox, a Dolly Parton album, and figurine. Free to be, you and me, if only. Someday it's going to be worth the bundle. Perhaps someday, but not this day and not soaking wet. Poking out of the water were car parts, early American Crocs and tin toys, piles of quilts and crates of books. Polaroids floated by of kids grown and friends made and pets long gone. Class pictures with postage-stamped elementary school kids with bad hair and big collars. I recognized no one, but Mom took a look and she's like, I always liked that little McCarthy kid. Whatever happened to him? Beneath the surface, creating ripped turns, were antique toys and tools and hubcaps and a saddle, hiding beneath the swirling current, looking to break or bruise the aging toes and hips of their unsuspecting saviors. My dad desperately piled his magazine collection higher and higher, Jenga style, box on top of box, teetering towards the ceiling, trying to save his treasured Road and Track and Playboy magazines from their soggy cardboard coffins. He had a milk crate of who knows what on his head, and the dirty, pulpy, nasty water was dripping down his face and sticking to his beard and fogging his glasses, and he was wading over to the tower of boxed Hess trucks that were clearly designated with a black Sharpie, 1972, 1994, 2002. Those are the years visible above the water line. Shoeboxes were on top of the Hess trucks, jammed with vintage postcards and thousands of baseball cards from Major League hopefuls. Now the bubble gum was stale and soggy, leaking through, and it was all teetering over their watering graves. Save them, my dad boomed. There could be a Jeter rookie card in there someplace. Maybe Thurman, maybe Gary Carter. I always liked that Gary Carter. A poster of a bikini-clad Farrah Fawcett clung to the wall, ready to dive in, the corners curling, peeking from behind the Amway boxes. All that hair and beauty, even she's unable to save this mausoleum of memories. And yet the water kept rising. My dad pulled a somewhat limp, but still smiling, Bill Clinton bobblehead from the Riptide. Worth a fortune, you can count on it. He waved Bill in my face. Would you throw away a Benjamin? I didn't think so. There's thousands down here, Kathy, maybe more. Do not throw this stuff away, none of it. You hear me? I tried to reason with them. And as I did that, my husband was trying to save bobbleheads from drowning. He wet-vacked through the night to save what he thinks might someday get us a beach house. But I know for a fact will only get us a mold allergy. It's genetic. I'm worried for my own kids. My grandmother, she saved yardsticks, and her fridge was full of tartar sauce packets from the Friday night fish fry. She didn't like tartar sauce, but she saved every packet. My mom promised never to do that, yet here she stands, knee-deep, wringing out soaking wet fabric swatches and fistfuls of yarn, insisting they'll be okay. It's then I remember my own junk drawer full of chopsticks and soy packages. Throw it out, I begged to them. all of it. Let's sell what we can while we can. We don't want the Hot Wheels. We don't want the Cabbage Patch dolls. We don't want the Encyclopedia Britannicas. Don't be ridiculous, my dad scoffed. This is good stuff. It might pay for college someday. You never know. Oh, I know. Hey, he said, grabbing an R2-D2 original or a first-generation replica or a limited edition, I don't know what it was, from my hands before I could shove it into the black garbage bag I dragged behind me like a tugboat. What is wrong with you? Don't throw that away. Don't think about it. Do you have any idea what that would bring at auction? I didn't think so. Give it to me. Hang on. There's a Han Solo around here someplace. Help me find it. So I did. Knee-deep in memories, fishing just beneath the surface, I grasped for the saturated treasures that they had saved through a lifetime together, and I pulled them out, and I dried them off to put them high on the shelf, to have their value percolate and their stories preserved to be told another day. Thank you.